If you choose the wrong time to visit, you'll be paying a premium for flights, for accommodations, for transport, and you'll be surrounded by crowds. This is the same location on 2 different days, and this is the same hotel on 2 different days. Very different prices. So, in this video, I'm gonna explain exactly when is the best time and when is the worst time to visit Japan for year 2025 and beyond. And we're gonna use the JR official calendar. Each year, Japan Rail releases a calendar for the entire year, explaining which days are the cheapest to travel and which days are the most expensive. And that is tied to the crowdness level at the same time. And I'll also suggest the best locations to visit throughout the year, so even if you fixed your travel dates, I can still help you make the most of your trip. So let's take a look at the JR 2025 price calendar. You'll gain insights not just for 2025, but for every subsequent year because there is a pattern. All right, okay, let's start from January. And what we can notice is that it's yellow from January 1st to January 6th. Why is this? This is the New Year's holiday. And in Japan, for New Year's, people are visiting home. For example, if you work in Tokyo but your hometown is in Akita, you're probably taking the days off, say at the end of the year, maybe December 28th, 29th, and you're traveling home, spending some time with your family, and then coming back, returning to Tokyo on the 5th or on the 6th to start working again. And also at the beginning, for the New Year's, it is a difficult time to plan around your trips in Japan. However, if you do plan to visit around that time, the one location that I can recommend is visiting temples and shrines because in January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, events happening. Usually there are festivals. You go there sometimes, there are amazake, there are like food stalls that you can try. And it'll be somewhat crowded, but you'll be very lively. Okay, anyways, my advice is to avoid these days. But if you can see on the calendar, 7, 8, 9, up to 10 is okay. It's not so bad. However, you have to take note that the following week, 11, 12, 13, that weekend, 11, 12, 13 is a long weekend. What does that mean? That means people are traveling again. So and this long weekend is the coming of age. It's thanks to coming of age holidays. They always combine it with the weekend to make it a 3-day weekend. So what I would do if I have the flexibility, right, is I would either visit on the 7th and just tank through the long holidays, or I would visit on the 14th. So if you visit on the 14th, the locals are no longer traveling because they've spent all their money. So in general, the weekdays are marked in blue. And as you can see, almost the entirety of January and even February is mostly blue on weekdays. So those are the best times to travel. If you visit Japan around, in the winter, you can enjoy onsen towns with snow, very beautiful. Now this applies to most of northern Japan. If you're even Tokyo, it doesn't receive so much snow. So if you're visiting either the highland areas like Nagano, like Yamanashi, you'll have some snow accumulation, or it can just be in the northern part of Japan, all the way, there's lots of snow if you go all the way up to like Akita, to like Yamagata, or even right at the top to Hokkaido, so much snow. People love winter sports, but let me remind you, if there are a lot of people enjoy winter sports, those little ski towns are gonna be super expensive. So if you're not into winter sports, you might as well stay south of Tokyo where there's not as much snow. The area around Mount Fuji is really scenic because you got the snow-capped Fuji, and it's not so expensive as you can see on the calendar. So great time to visit the areas around Mount Fuji. All right, so now we head into March. So March it's a double-edged sword, I want to say. the first half of March, right up until 18th to 19th, it's very nice. It's very nice, right? You get to see some cherry blossoms, but for the most part, if you visit after the 20th, you're going to be surrounded by massive crowds because not only are there going to be more foreign visitors coming to Japan for the cherry blossoms, there are going to be kids and families because school's off around that time. So I was in a public elementary school in Japan, and we had the spring break because end of March is when we finish the school term in Japan, and beginning of April is when we move up the school year, and around there you have about 7 to 10 days of holidays. Yeah, so it's coincided with people visiting Japan for cherry blossoms, and it's also with the spring break. So I would avoid those times. Cherry blossom in Japan is beautiful. We've seen those advertisements. We've seen all those like Instagrammers post about how beautiful Japan is with cherry blossoms. So what you can do instead is we're gonna hop onto the April calendar, with 2025 April, and what you'll notice is that from April 7th, the Monday, April 7th, the price goes down significantly. Now, why is this? One, because school's back on, back on school. You're back in school. And the second reason is that most foreigners, most tourists, what they see are these marketing ads saying Japan sees the cherry blossoms as early as late March, so come in late March, but then the cherry blossoms are gone by, in a week or two, especially if it rains. It rains quite a bit in the spring. So once it rains, a lot of cherry blossoms the petals will fall, right? But what I would actually recommend is coming on the 7th. If you come on the 7th of April, a lot of people have already, gone back to school, and a lot of foreigners have already, stopped traveling. But cherry blossoms are actually a lot more cherry blossoms up in the mountains than down in parks, right? When you see those forecasts, in the cherry blossom forecast that tells you, oh, March 19th or March 20th is when it starts in Tokyo. It's those forecasts are only looking at parks, right? Parks at a flat altitude, right? But cherry blossoms are actually everywhere in the mountains. So, for example, there's one place in Yamaneshi that I really love to go to visit, and I usually visit around mid-April to late April because it's on an elevated plains, around 500 to 1,000 meter elevation, and it's really beautiful. Not too many people, not nearly as many people as Tokyo. All right, it's awesome. I took my friends there last year, and they really enjoyed it. All right, so what I would advise is come to Japan April 7th or after, and pretty much for the entirety of April, you can find cherry blossoms up in the mountains or up in rural Japan, right? You probably won't be able to find them as much in Tokyo, but if you're Kyoto or Osaka, but if you just travel just a bit outside, take 2 hours, 3 hours by train or drive into one of those mountainous prefecture. 75% of Japan is mountainous. So aside from those 3 big cities, you're mostly looking at mountains. And out there, cherry blossoms bloom after April 7th, between April 7th to maybe until early May. Okay, so that's when I visit Japan. However, I would really be careful when you're approaching the end of April, because we have something called Golden Week. I've heard from my friend who visited last year. They said how they were expecting huge crowds, right? But apparently the prices and the crowd levels weren't so high. And I think it's because now that most people know about this Golden Week, it's more than a week, it's around 10 days, right? Most people know about this phenomenon, right? People have started avoiding it. And now locals travel too, but here's something interesting about locals traveling during Golden Week. A lot of them tend to visit overseas, right? Because as locals, we have 2 long holidays in Japan. One is the end of the year, but end of the year is usually when we see families, right? When we visit home, it's like Christmas. You want to be with the families. So for Golden Week, that's when you can travel overseas, right? You got like 7 days, 10 days, long vacation. That's the prime time to visit other countries, right? Europe, if you want, you can travel for like 2 weeks to Europe, Hawaii, 7 days, whatever. So actually in the recent years, because foreigners the foreigners are avoiding this Golden Week because it's busy, it's the national holiday in Japan, and the locals are actually traveling overseas, especially after COVID, people want to rediscover those other countries. Golden Week might actually not be so crowded anymore. Now we have to test this theory. Like next year, I kind of know, like if any of you guys are planning to travel Golden Week, or you've traveled last year, 2024 Golden Week, let me know in the comments how it was, or how it, after you finish traveling, let us know what it's actually like. So if Golden Week is actually a prime time to travel, it's like this, it's like reverse psychology. Is that what we call it? Anyways, so that's the thing with Golden Week. It's a bit tricky. I have to test my theory for year 2025 and on. Okay, but for certain, one thing for certain is that right after Golden Week, I want to say around the 7th is when you'll see the prices come back down, like come straight down, right? The prices will come straight down. And from the 7th and on until, I want to say maybe until the first half of July, all the way until the first half of July, we have this stretch of, this is actually my favorite time of the year, right after Golden Week to the first half of July, before it gets hot and humid, right? This 2 full month, best time to visit Japan. In my mind, this is the best time, okay? Most people think cherry blossoms is like the most beautiful flower in Japan. Yes, it's true to some degree, but honestly, there's thousands of plant species in Japan. Many of them bloom in the spring. And if Japan is mountainous, right? The average altitude in Japan is maybe like 500 meters. But you got mountains 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, 3,000 meters, and flowers will be blooming, from May all the way to July. The higher, the colder you get, the higher you go up, the colder it gets. So the later it blooms. Many of the flowers, alpine plants, bloom around early July or even late June. Very beautiful up there. So I actually think it's prime time. And also because it's right after Golden Week, when the locals have finished enjoying and spending they're spending their money overseas. Now they're poor and they have to save up for the summer, right? Like if you have kids or if you have family, your kids are off, the schools usually go off around the latter half of July. So you're saving up for these family trips in the summer, right? So locals are poor. Locals are poor between May and July. So this is your prime time. Prices are low, right? Temperature, weather is perfect. Except the only thing you need to be careful of is the Tsuyu, the rainy season. We call it Tsuyu here. It doesn't rain as frequently as before. And it's before it gets hot, because it only gets hot and humid after. It's also the humidity, right? The humidity really kicks in after the rainy season. And where would you go? Any mountain or any prefecture or any destination below, I want to say below 2,500 meters is great. If you're like me, you like Japan Alps, you like hiking, you like to hike high mountains. I'll wait a little bit till maybe end of August, but around May to July, honestly, like anywhere in Japan is perfect. Okay, so that's the prime time. That's my favorite time. Now let's move to the summer. Okay, one of the worst times to travel in Japan is the hot and humid summer. I don't have to explain too much. If you have a friend visit Japan in August, they'll tell you all about it. But it's not just the summer humidity and heat that you have to worry about. It's also the summer vacation. All right, kids are off school. So I was in elementary school in Japan. Every summer, the best time, like this is the only time I have like more than a month. And on weekends, you're traveling with your parents. if your parents take some summer Obon, right? This actually a long holiday in Japan called Obon around mid August, when prices are just crazy, just skyrockets. So in general, I would try to avoid the end of July to all the way to maybe the first half, or maybe after, especially after Obon. Gotta wait till Obon's finished, right? And Obon's a bit different, slightly different each year, but usually finishes by 20th or so, right? But 20th, so if you look at the calendar, on the 20th, it gets much better. So yeah, but around there, right? So it's still hot and humid, but if you already planned your trip, in August, there is a saving grace. The saving grace is that you can either visit somewhere of high altitude, right? For example, Nagano has mountains in the 2,000 meter, 3,000 meter ranges. If you go all the way up there, it's actually not bad. I think at the 3,000 altitude, you're not gonna be there the whole time, but when you hike all the way up to 3,000 meter altitude, even in the summer, even in August, it's around maybe 10, 15 degrees. Or you can just go to Hokkaido. Like that's what I did last year. I flew to Hokkaido for more than 2 weeks and avoided the hot and humid summer. Now even the Hokkaido, right? It's huge. Hokkaido is big. If you do the southern part of Hokkaido, like Hakodate, it's still quite warm. But if you go all the way to the northern part of Hokkaido, it's very nice. It's breezy. It was around 18 to 20 degrees, even in August. No humidity, perfect weather. Right? So that's what I would recommend. Now the best time, however, if you can choose, is to come near the end of August. So near the end of August, right? The locals have finished their summer trips, especially if it's to the ocean, right? If you're going to the beach, the locals will only travel to the beach before Obon, because there's like a folklore in Japan where, like, if you go swimming after Obon, these tentacle monsters will come grab you and drag you underneath and eat you alive, right? So back in the days, now we've been taught as a kid, me as well as taught as a kid, if you should only go to the beach to go swimming before Obon, right? After that, the monsters will come get you. Now the monsters, they're actually jellyfish. There's lots of jellyfish in Japan they love to sting you. There's like so many types of jellyfish, and some of them are very, very venomous, so you do want to be careful. But if anytime after August, after August 20th or so, after Obon, beach trips are very nice, very nice. Just watch out for those jellyfish. Yeah, you can also visit, as I said earlier, Hokkaido's great. Anywhere above, I want to say maybe 2,000 meter altitude is great weather. Now, what about September? So now we're getting into the autumn month. So September is actually very tricky, because although September, for the most part, right? Because if you think about it, the locals have, they have this 1 month long holiday, right? They spend lots of money going to the beach, traveling in the summer vacation with their kids, with the family. Now they have no money, so they're not traveling, right? Yes, they're not traveling. So for the most part, you can see it's blue, especially for the weekdays. Let's talk about one of my favorite months of the year, October, right? October, for most people, October is still a bit early in terms of autumn leaves, but in reality, October is when I enjoy autumn leaves. And there's a reason for that. It's because if you drive up north, or if you go up at a higher altitude, the autumn leaves start changing color around October, as early as early October. Yeah, so if you look at the price calendar, for the first half of October, it's very affordable, because for the majority of tourists, majority of travelers, they still haven't, for them, the autumn leaves season hasn't started yet. But if you are, a hiker, if you like nature, if you are willing to, look to head to those places, say 2,000 meters or beyond, you're going to like Nagano, even like places like Hokkaido, Tohoku, October is a prime time However, just watch out for weekends because watch out for weekends because weekends, autumn is actually, for example, like places like Nikko, right? Places like Nikko, they start getting their autumn leaves, around mid-October, and the locals really love to go on. We call these momijigari. So we're just out there looking for the autumn leaves. We're hunting for autumn leaves, right? And it's usually these locals, we don't really take holidays, so because it's still kind of after the summer break. So just watch out for weekends, and there's also a long weekend in October that you need to watch out for. But aside from like the weekends, October is actually not a bad time to travel to Japan, especially on weekdays, because locals, they still haven't really gone full out on spending, So that's great. Now, the destinations that I would suggest for October, anywhere above, I want to say 1,500 meter altitude, all right? Tohoku, Hokkaido, or anywhere north of Tokyo, or places like like mountainous areas. It's beautiful October. Okay, November, much of the same story, except even cheaper, more affordable than October. But for the weekends, it's still about the same, right? So the weekends is still going to be crowded. So whenever I'm planning a trip, say I'm driving north or I'm driving west of Tokyo, heading to the mountains, for weekends, if I'm planning a road trip for weekends, I'm usually giving myself an extra hour leaving Tokyo and coming back to Tokyo because there's gonna be lots of traffic. Yeah, for weekdays, it's much better. This year I did at the end of October, this is October, at the end of October I did a road trip with some other influencers, and there were barely any traffic because we chose to leave on Sunday and we came back on, I think we left on Monday and we came back on Saturday. So it's only Monday through Friday pretty much. Yeah, accommodations very affordable, barely any traffic, barely any people. And because we chose Tohoku as an area, Tohoku is one of the least congested places. So yeah, it's very good. Tohoku and Shikoku, I think, are the two areas where the locals don't really visit and foreigners still haven't discovered. So look into those two areas, Tohoku, Shikoku. Anyways, November is much the same, similar story. Just avoid weekends, avoid the long weekends. So next year there's a long weekend, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then another long weekend, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So watch out for those. Usually by the end of November is when the cities, maybe Tokyo, even places like Tokyo, but rural towns, rural cities, they start getting their autumn colors. Yeah, so it's a great time to travel. Weekdays are still affordable. October, November, great time to visit Japan. It's not too cold yet. However, once it hits December, now we're in the freezing territory. Like today, like this year, 2024, December, the first few days, I want to say maybe the first week of December was like 15 degrees. But in the upcoming week, right today is like mid-December, it's been close, near freezing, right? I'm in Tokyo, I think today was maybe 3 degrees. So December, it's very tricky. You can have like warm days, 15 degrees to, very cold days, even days below zero, where you'll have like snowfall, even in cities. So for December, locals don't really travel until the end of the year because, now that they're saving up for the end of the year. And to most people, so to my surprise, when I first visited Japan, when I first moved to Japan, Christmas and Christmas Eve are not holidays. I thought I had a day off. And then my boss called me, he's like, "Where are you? Tony, why are you in the office?" I'm like, "It's Christmas, why should I be in the office?" Yeah, anyways, Christmas is not a holiday here, so it's still a decent time to travel. However, just be careful. The locals are out on dates, Christmas dates. That's a thing here. And also Christmas Eve, if you're looking for like a fancy restaurant, you're looking for looking to stay at a fancy hotel, Christmas Eve is actually very expensive because that's when people go on dates. Anyways, after Christmas, around maybe I'll say, this depends on when it's weekend, right? So for year 2025, the weekend is on the 27th. So if I'm visiting Japan, I want to leave by 26th. Right, 26th is still okay. Once you get to 27th, flights will be quite expensive. Actually, to be honest, flights will already be expensive by the 26th. So if you think about heading out of Japan, maybe 25 or 24 would be more affordable. Yeah, but traveling within Japan, 27th is when it gets really expensive. And end of the year, similar to the start of the year, people are visiting home, right? Usually for end of the year, people are not really visiting home as much. They're maybe, having, go on these like day trips or like onsen trips. Because in the winter it's cold, so people love to hit the onsen towns. I love to do these onsen excursions in December. Now some people are already looking at eyeing at ski resorts, right? Like this one year, I spent the end of the year at a ski resort for 2 nights, and then came back to Tokyo and spent the New Year's in Tokyo. But yeah, end of the year, people are going on these trips with their friends, or maybe they are going home and spend like a week with their family, with their local friends. So I would aim to be out of Japan by Christmas or so. Okay, so that's it for the entire year. Now let's do a recap. Now I summarized all the best dates and the worst dates in this table. Take a screenshot of the table, save it to wherever, to your photos or whatever. Use it as a reference if you're looking to book your tickets to Japan. This will be a good reference. It'll be a great reference actually for year 2025. Okay, so let's just go one at a time. The best time to travel and the worst time to travel. Let's look at it. Let's go from the top. January 1st to January 6th. It's the worst time because places are closed. The New Year's holidays, locals are visiting families. Now, because locals are often visiting families, right? Hotels are actually not, the prices of hotels might not be so expensive, but you're traveling back and forth, you're taking the bullet train, you're driving around, it could be congested. So I would aim, and then right after that you have the 3-day holiday. So I would aim to arrive January 14th, and until around March 19th, it's not too bad. And for the winter month, if you're visiting Japan in the winter, onsen, awesome time to hit the onsen. And if you love winter sports, Japan is all about powder snow. Yeah, but you are going to be paying a premium for the ski resorts. Yeah, but powder snow, it's amazing. It's the best. I don't really do so much winter sports anymore because one time I not break my neck, but I injured my neck. There's another time I injured my back. And so yeah, I've stopped high risk activities so I can focus on YamaTrips. Anyways, onsen trips are awesome in the winter, so I'll go for those. But by March 20th, school's off. You got cherry blossoms in the cities. So from then until April 6th, it's very crowded. I try to avoid that time. Instead, come to Japan April 7th after most, the majority of travelers have finished enjoying the cherry blossoms. You go out there, enjoy the cherry blossoms at a slight altitude, maybe 400 meters or above. Beautiful cherry blossoms all around the countryside, right? And you enjoy that until the April 24th, right? For example, April 24th, you can still enjoy cherry blossoms. There'll be places around like 1,000 meter altitude, or you go to Tohoku. It's perfect time for those. But from April 25th, you got another long week, long holidays, or maybe 1 week to 10 days, where locals are traveling heavily. However, most local, right? Instead of traveling within Japan, I don't want to say most, but a lot of my friends even, instead of over the Golden Week, they would be looking to travel overseas, right? Because that's that's the prime time to travel overseas. End of the year is when they see their families, right? So Golden Week, it might actually be a good time to visit Japan. Also because most tourists, they've whoever's done just a little bit of research on when to visit Japan, they would have seen Golden Week is the time they should avoid because it's the long holidays. So you might actually have less competition. Anyways, so right after Golden Week is perfect time in my opinion. It's one of my favorite times to visit. Yeah, so from May 7th to July 17th. So May 7th to July 17th, the weather is I wouldn't say perfect, but it's before it gets the humidity, right? Because humidity really kicks in after the rainy season, right? So and May is actually not so bad. Where May the weather is perfect. The alpine plants, right? Japan has so many, like thousands of species of flowers, right? It's perfect time to enjoy the flowers. May, June. It starts to get rainy around end of June. However, in the past years or past couple of years, at least it's trending that way. It doesn't rain as much as before, so it's still not bad. So yeah, as my prime time is, I would say it's prime time. But watch out after the second half of July. That's when school's off. You got families traveling. You got lots of kids, lots of students. You got people visiting. People going to the beach. So I would try to avoid those between July 18th to August 24th. And in between there, you have this 1 week of Obon, around a week of Obon, where prices really go up like double or triple, right? So you want to wait for that to finish, right? End of Obon, and then end of the week. Wait till the weekend finishes on Monday. So in this case, it's in like August 25th or so, yeah. And then you can travel again, but you also have to watch out for September, because heading to September, like you think that people have finished. Locals have just finished summer vacation. They're out of money. They're out of money, but most of them they actually save a pool, right? They save some to enjoy the Silver Week. It's about a 10-day. It's not really a 10-day holiday. It's actually 3-day weekends, but there's back to back. So some people they can take 3-4 days off in the middle and create this long holiday as well. So in September, the weather is better. It's not so humid, but I think just 2024 was terrible, right? Maybe global warming, maybe not. I don't know what the reason is, but 2024 was terrible in September. Hopefully 2025 and on will be better, but I'm not too sure. However, the prices are still okay, right? Just watch out for that, those 2 long weekends, right? Right after the 2 long weekends, September 24th, all the way till around the end of December. Now this time is prime time for autumn foliage. It's great, but just watch out for the weekends, right? There's also, I think 2 or 3 long weekends around that area, 1 in October and 2 in November. So you want to watch out for those long weekends. If you can avoid those long weekends, great. If you can't, it's still okay because it's just a couple of days. But overall, I would just watch out for weekends, right? For weekends, you're probably expecting a lot of people. A lot of people are traveling everywhere for the autumn foliage. But weekdays will be perfect. So I do recommend visiting October. For October, the autumn foliage starts early in Tohoku. Hokkaido, of course, beautiful. I think Hokkaido starts around late September. October, Tohoku, anywhere above Tokyo is great. Mountainous prefectures like, let's say, Toyama or Gifu, Toyama, Gifu, Nagano, autumn foliage all start around October, right? November's where the city starts getting their colors. December, even through December, I think early December this year, even right now, like this is mid-December and the city is beautiful. We have those like icho, what do you call those? Anyways, those yellow leaves, they're really beautiful. They're all around Tokyo. I think they're also all around Osaka. I'm not too sure, maybe, yeah. But yeah, I think even to early December, you can enjoy autumn foliage. end of December, just before Christmas, times before Christmas, it gets really cold. You can enjoy onsen, yeah, and people are saving up for end of the year, the New Year holiday, so prices are low. Not too many people. It's a great time to travel again. Anyways, be out of Japan by December 25th if you don't want the flights, right? Flight tickets to go back up. All right, so that's the annual calendar. Take a screenshot, save it, and use it when you decide when to visit Japan. All right, thanks for listening. If you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends who's going to be visiting Japan. All right, see you in the next episode.